Hello, this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with another little box project, really easy to make and very similar to the Best Fishes box I made a few weeks ago. I've bought quite a few of these hand creams to give away. I'm not advertising the brand here. These actually are a standard size of hand creams, and I thought it would be nice if I had a little box that just went round them to make them a little bit more special. And I will show you how you can alter the size of the box if you have got different tubes. What I started off with, I just took a little strip of scrap paper and I just measured the circumference of my tube at the top here. So I just laid the piece of paper around it, laid it tight at the top and marked here with a pencil. Don't know if you can see that, how wide it is. And then I made sure that at the bottom it's got the same circumference. And normally the way the tubes are made, because they are made from straight tubes, this should be the same. So I used my measurements here and I'll show you that in a moment. The other thing I want to show you is I used papers from this paper pad. I bought this years ago at B&M and I was never quite sure what to do with these because some of these sheets have got split designs. I'll show you what I mean. You've got pages like this, so you've got just two squares here, the pattern paper, but this one here is perfect to create the tube. I've got a full sheet here that is also from the paperback, but I've also got this piece here. So we've got the parrot feathers here, and there's some water bubbles here, and again I can create some nice packaging from that. These are, by the way, let me just check, does it say how heavy they are? It doesn't actually. I'd say they are about 200 GSM. Yeah, so fairly sturdy, but it doesn't really matter because the box fits quite tightly around the tube, so you don't need a lot of sturdiness for it really. So for the size, the way I have worked this out, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Apologies if the lighting's not the greatest. We're still in September when I'm recording this, but the weather is like November, hardly any daylight at lunchtime here. So my tube is 4.5 inches wide in circumference, and I created one trial run before, but it was a bit too tight, so I would add another 1/2 inch for some room in the packaging. And then you need 1/2 inch, I'd say, for a flap to glue the bits together. I like to go for 1/2 inch. I find sometimes 1/4 is a bit difficult to handle. And then for the length, mine is 5 1/4, the height of the tube. And then you need to add 1/4 of whatever your width is with that extra room. So mine works out 4.5 plus 1/2, so 5 inches. So I need to take 1/4 of that, 1 1/4, and I need to add that to this. And then I added, this is supposed to be a plus sign, 1.5 inches for a flap on the top. But my suggestion is actually to keep it maybe even longer to start with, because you can decide later how long you want the closure to be. So, but I sort of figured out this is the minimum, that's 8 inches. I will show you in a moment how we score that. So I will just cut my pieces to 5.5 by, yeah, I'll probably leave them a little bit longer than 8 inches, and I'll show you what we can do with that. I have decided to leave mine at 8.5 inches long, just to have a little bit of room to play with the closure. I have, by the way, I've cut a little bit on the top off. I know it's a bit wasteful, but I didn't like this white fluff there and the feather pattern. And then I've cut a little bit off the bottom. But this will be nice for me to create a tag to then put onto the box. So you now need to score the 5.5 inches at 2.5 and at 5 inches. It's up to you which side you want to do that, or whether you want to come in from the other side. For me, it doesn't really matter, but this is obviously, it's a directional pattern, so I wouldn't have this upside down. So, and then at the bottom, which is here, you need to score at, in my case, it's 1 1/4. So whatever, as I said before, whatever the width is of yours, so if I take the half of my whole width here, 5 inches, well, the whole is 5.5, but if I take the flap away, one of these strips here is 2.5 inches, and I need to half that again, so that's 1 1/4 is half of that, and that's the bit I need to score here. So sideways I need to score it at 1 1/4. And then I'm turning it upside down, and I need to score it again now. I have marked it though from this side, so I'll probably turn it this way around. It doesn't really matter because you're just putting marks in. So we now need to half this again. So again at 1 1/4, but we're only scoring. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you without moving the board too much. I'm not throwing my mug out. So I need to score only to this score line. So 1 1/4, you can just about see this. And we need the half of this as well here, which is 3 3/4. So basically we've got 4 equal squares here, plus that flap there. Can you see? So let me just put this on here again and zoom in the measurements. So we're scoring at 1 1/4 along here, and then these here is 1 1/4 and 3 3/4. So, and that's all we need to do. Let me just put my scoreboard away. Now I need to cut away these score lines here at the bottom. So I'm actually turning it this way around. It's easier to see sometimes on pattern paper when you turn it the other way around. So I'm cutting on either side of that score line up to the other score line here, the one that goes across. So, and then I'm cutting across here to take these out. Sometimes you can pull them out, depends on how slim they are. So, and with the last score line, I'm cutting on the left hand side to cut it away. Then I'm cutting the flap here a little bit at an angle, and I'm also cutting a tiny wedge off here on the top. One thing I've forgotten, but it doesn't really matter, is to fold these first, because when you fold it before you cut them, it's a little bit easier, but it doesn't really matter. So you fold them over and burnish them. So, and you also need to burnish the other 2 score lines. So this one here and the middle one here. So, and that's almost all there is to it. So now we just glue this shut here. So I'm applying some glue now, using the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. That's a quick grab glue, and that's the best one to use. I would not use a glue that doesn't grab quickly. You could use some red tape, but problem is with tape, once you've closed it and that's it. You can't really readjust it. And with this glue, you've got a little moment if you need to wriggle it in place. So just folding it shut, and I'm leaving this to dry. So make sure it hasn't oozed out in the middle, so you could take your ruler, which there we go. So I can put my ruler in across there just to make sure I don't have any excess glue. And I definitely need to leave this to dry for maybe a minute or two. Before I glue the bottom together now, I'm laying my tube on here and I'm just having a quick look where it sits. And I'm just using my scoreboard and my bone folder, and I'm sort of figuring out, let's say this is 1 3/4 here above the top. I can even go up a little bit. I just want to have a look what fold I can create if I want sort of half of it. I'd say maybe about 3/4. That would end up at 1 1/2 then to fold it over. So I'm just putting a score line through there. I need to apply that a little bit heavier because I have got the flap there as well. I can go in from the other side as well, so I've got it from both sides, because that will allow me later to fold this over and put a little ribbon through. I will show you a different closure with my second box, so probably even fold it to the back. Yeah, it wants to warp a little bit because of basically by putting the score line in, we move the cardstock a little bit, but once we've put the ribbon in, it will be fine. Now that the side has dried, I can pop this box open and I can fold these bottom bits in. I would check where the front is, so I can see where the back flap is. So hope this focuses all right. So I will fold the back ones in first, and again I will use my quick grab glue, pop glue on here, fold this one over, really create a square there. You see, and then fold the front ones over. There we go. Hope the camera focuses on that properly. So you can use, again, your ruler, or I'm not sure if this one's actually too wide to go into the box and press this down a little bit before. I think I just used my alcohol marker, but this one's a bit deeper than my prototype. So just to get a bit of pressure on the bottom, and again, leave that to dry for a moment. I will quickly repeat the steps, but show you how to create a different flap. So I've repeated all my scoring as I have before, and I'm laying my tube again on here on this score line here, so I can judge how much space I need on the top. And I will put a score line where I think this needs to end this box. So this will be at 2 inches in my case. I have again cut this piece generously, but I will put a score line here. So, and before I glue anything together, I will cut some of this away. So the bit that is in the front, that will be cut away. So again, I'm cutting the score line away there, and the camera picks it up. The weather is so rubbish today. And I'm cutting this at a slight angle, so basically cutting the score line away and a little bit of an angle, but really just a tiny bit. Cutting the same here, oh sorry, so that this gives me a flap to fold over the front. And I might cut it a little bit shorter, I'm not sure yet, or you could, yeah, I think I will cut it a little bit shorter. So I could do that on my guillotine, or just eyeball this here. This is really up to you. And I think the other thing I will do, let me just cut this out of the way, I will just round off the corners a little bit. I'm not doing it with my corner rounder because I don't have a 90-degree angle here. So I'm just doing it with these scissors because I think that will look nice in the end. I'm not doing a great job of that today, but it'll be okay. That's better. So, and now I can glue this, cut the bits at the bottom here and glue this together as I have done with the first piece. So, my idea with my first closure was to just fold this over here and put some holes through and put a ribbon through this. Problem is, my hole punch can't handle this. If you got one of those fancy crocodiles, you can probably do that. But I think what I can manage is actually put holes on either side of here by putting it as close as I can without catching it at the bottom here and just poking the holes through there. Can lean it on there and then hopefully can repeat the holes again at the top. So just a tricky thing to take it off again. Just need to wriggle this out. There we go. So I can do that here again. Oh, it's actually easier if I put it to the top here. Silly me. So just about there. And now I could theoretically fold this over, mark where I need to cut the holes. And then I know where I need to punch them. This is why I never have my bottom bit here on my hole punch, so I can see where I'm cutting. So that was actually easier than I thought it was. Obviously got a double layer here, or sorry, a triple layer rather, where you've got the flap. But yeah, that's not too bad. So I can put my tube of hand cream in here now, slide it in, close it here and put a ribbon through. I will do this in a moment. I just wanted to show you the other closure here that I've created. So the idea with that is to just pop the hand cream in there and then fold it over like this, and then either put a Velcro fastening on that, or if you've got one of these fancy little magnets, or you could even just put a peg on the top here and have something dangling from that. I think that could really look nice as well. And then obviously you can embellish these with, as I said, I could probably make some tags from the cardstock I've got left over, maybe even do it double-sided, and yeah, just embellish this. I've still got my fancy ephemera here that wants to be used one day, so I think I will just embellish these off camera and just pop in either a little video snippet or a photo of how I have finished these. Yeah. And if you like this idea of creating these little boxes for some hand creams, or maybe other creams you're giving away in tubes, yeah, if you'd like these, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video. Well, it's admittedly quite a few days later. I created my tags here on the same day when I finished the boxes, but I never put them on. I never put the ribbon on because I didn't quite know what to do with these tags. The tags themselves, I had sort of an unhappy accident. I just stamped them with best wishes, and my intention was to heat emboss this in white, but I grabbed the wrong embossing powder and they ended up being clear. Also, lots of the powder had been blown away, so I have lots of holes in these, and I thought about ditching them, and then I thought, well, I might just as well still use them. And what I did with this is I gave that a trial run, and it worked quite nicely. I foiled this embossing powder. So what I did was I put some foil over the top. You need the one that is suitable for heat embossing, or heat foiling. And I put the tag and the foil, shiny side up, through my laminator, but between two sheets, or rather a folded sheet of baking parchment, because you don't want anything of that exposed. And that worked really nicely. It's even shiny on this one because the embossing powder was a bit more solid on this one. It is a bit speckled, and I can also see a little bit of residue in the background, but I don't mind that. I think the reason why my embossing powder is so patchy is because I think I heat set it from the front and half of it blew away. But yeah, I think this works. I think this looks very, arty, so I don't mind that. But why I didn't finish this, I thought about die cutting this piece, embellishing it, add something to it. And then this morning I thought, you know what, I just cut a tag from it myself. My tag dies didn't have the right shape, so I just cut these corners off, put a hole in with my hole punch, and then just used my corner rounder to round off the corners. And I think this will do the job. This is all I needed. So for this one, as intended, I pulled some ribbon through the holes here, and I had to tie a proper knot in the back to have the bow here sit in the right place, so the recipient might have to cut it off or use her fingernails. So I just tied that tag in there into the knot. With this one, I put, let me just zoom in for that one, I put Velcro dots here. I learned this, I think, of some Caldecott. For them to be in the right place, all you do is you stack them, put them on one part, I think I put them on here, stack them, and then you close it and then basically press it down, and so the other part ends up where you need it. And then I thought, what do I do with the ribbon? I could have just stuck it on the outside, but then I thought I could actually put it behind this flap here. So I just used some red tape, stuck it down, and now when I close this, I can then tie a bow here, as I have done with the other one. And again, I think I would probably tie a knot here because that can stay where it is anyway. It is all a bit fiddly. Oh, before I forget to mention that, so that the ribbons don't fray, I used the heat of my lighter on the ends. That always helps. So I can now just feed this through. Little tip, by the way, if you use ribbon as well, make sure your pieces are long enough. When it gets really, really fiddly, you don't want the ribbon to be too short. These are all ribbons that I bought in Germany a while ago. This is actually a different shade of blue from the same range. So, and then I'll just show you quickly how I tie the bow. So make sure the pattern's on the outside if you got one. Then you go under, over, and then feed this through the back and pull it tight. And you can pull these out again and pull it even tighter. Need to pull that again, so it's always, figuring it out a little bit. And then when you've got it in shape, pull these down, pull this one up. Sometimes you have to feed this through. I hope you can see what I'm doing here to get in the right place. And I think that's okay there. Both of these will go in my suitcase anyway when I'm going to Germany in a few weeks' time. But yeah, so this is the two versions of my hand cream box finished off. This one's a bit higher than the other one. Let's just zoom out again. But yeah, I'm really pleased with these. I think they look really nice and make a nice gift. And yeah, so I hope you like these, and I'll see you soon with another video.